Yeah, I guess it'll be kind of all over the place. I guess Ancona would be first. So there's some controversy between America and Britain over who actually created the Ancona duck. But
Yeah.
records do show the oldest dated record they have for the Ancona duck is from New York. So the Livestock Conservancy is saying that it is an American created breed of duck. But Britain tried to hold in there and say they were the ones who created it. Um, it's not, the Ancona is not accepted into the standard of perfection by the American Poultry Association. But there is quite a few breeders who have been trying over about the last 8 to 10 years to get them as a recognized breed with the APA. So basically for us, for breeding, and I think what a lot of people do with their breeding is they base it off of what David Holderreed has said about the breed, because he's one of the ones who has done a lot of the conservancy efforts with them. So for their plumage and their weight and egg laying capacity, all of that, we just go off of what he has said to be true for the breed. They are listed in the watch status with the Livestock Conservancy, so they're not like critically endangered or threatened or anything like that. But if their numbers decline, then they would go into the threatened category. At maturity, they should weigh 6 to 6.5 pounds live weight. And they have that unique broken pattern. They can be many different colors, but they should kind of look like a Holstein cow. So the coloring of them should be broken up with white. So most of the breeders say it should be about 2/3 white and 1/3 color. So black or blue or lavender or chocolate, whatever color you have, tricolors, should only be about 1/3 of their plumage that is colored. They can lay upwards of 280 eggs a year. So while they are a medium weight breed, that's kind of why I decided to stick them into this lightweight category, because they are really good egg layers. They can lay many different colors of eggs, so white, tinted, green, blue, and they can even have spotted colors on their eggs. They're very hardy, they're friendly, good foragers that stay close to home, and they don't fly. They do grow relatively fast, and they are said to produce a high quality meat that is flavorful with less fat compared to the Pekin meat, and their market weight would be 5 to 6 pounds. So like I said, there is need for more breeders, although they're not as critical status as some of the other breeds that we have talked about. They are still listed, so they were a little hard to find here in Canada, but now I've seen a few more people popping up that I didn't even know about. So I guess it's like that. You think of a color of car that you don't normally see, and then the next time you're out, you see it everywhere. I guess it's been kind of like that for us with them. So then that's basically what I have about the Ancona. So if we're going alphabetical, I guess call ducks would be next.
I'm just getting my notes. And hold the baby. Okay, so the call duck is a small breed. The drakes will weigh in about a pound and a half, 1.6 pounds, and the females will usually weigh about a pound. So they're not a very heavy breed at all. Oh, I lost my notes. They can come in all different colors. Like you can get pastels, you can get white, darker colors, bibbed. Pretty much a lot of colors, a lot of variety. They have rounded small bills. They're like more rounded than the average duck. Like they're like shorter to their base. And they were originally used for hunters. They the hunters would send them out onto the slough and they would call in wild ducks because they were so loud and they are really loud. For being how small they are extremely loud. But then that's why they used them, right? You know, they used them and they replaced. They were replaced by the plastic duck. So now they're more of a decoration than they are. Like they're not. They're more of a pet and a decoration than they are anything else. Like they're not extinct. They're not going extinct. They're just there. You can get bantams, which are a slightly larger call duck, like slightly. Like they can be just a little bit bigger than a call. And they were first recorded in the Netherlands. Oops, sorry. But yeah, the hunters used them over there or whatever, and then they came over to Canada and both.
Can you really tell the difference of a wild mallard to a call? Like if they were the same coloring, can you tell the difference?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so what?
Sorry.
I just think that I must not know like what to look for, just because we have a ton of mallards with a lot of the same coloring here.
Yeah.
So, and even at our neighbor's farm, there was a male mallard that stuck around and then mated with the call, and then they were like a big happy family. and then he flew south, but the mallard flew south. So.
Yeah, like you can tell them like just by bill size and everything too.
Okay.
I would think. Courtney, were you gonna jump in there?
I think that you pretty much covered it, but the only thing I can think is with a mallard, I think the mallard has two line, or no, the mallard has one black line, and then a ruin or another breed would have two of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to pay attention when I see them swimming by the dock.
I think that I don't know that there's one mallard color in the call duck, or if there is or not. There probably is.
I don't, because like I'm just getting into call ducks, right? Like this is my first year breeding my own call ducks, right? And ours are mostly pastel colors. We've got we got one that's butterscotch, but she looks like a little miniature Saxony duck. And even the drake that follows her around, they're the same, right? Like, but none of mine really look like mallards. But I've only got 8.
I don't think I've ever seen one that looks like a mallard. I think they're all like different colored. Like I have all white ones and then all black ones, and then I have some that are called a snowy call. Yeah. So they're like white with like spots on them. Even in pictures, I don't think I've ever seen one that's a mallard color. And also, I don't know if like you guys do this there, but in the States, because some people own domestic mallards, so on the domestic ones, they actually clip one of the toes on their legs.
Okay. I wonder if it's just someone like using a different name or something for the mallards, because I've definitely like Googled the call ducks and all of their colorings and stuff, trying to match up the 3 that I had, and they were definitely like on there as a coloring, and then like whether they were female or male, a distinct color difference and stuff. And they look exactly like the mallards that we have flying around here that are wild. Like my brother and my dad are actually really avid duck hunters. And so they shoot them all the time. And then we see them up close and personal. And I just think they look so, and then my dad and brother come to see the call ducks and they're like, they look exactly like mallards. So maybe in our area.
I looked
yeah, like that.
No, it
The
could
gray-
be. Or it could be that somebody had a call and a wild mallard came and bred with them. That could totally happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I looked it up on the feathersite.com. It's for call ducks. Apparently the mallard pattern in call ducks is called gray.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this will show very well.
Yeah, that's exactly
that's
our
the
call.
female, gray female call duck.
Yeah.
But they
Now I
do.
need those.
They still might, I think, have a shorter bill than a mallard. Maybe.
Yeah.
I would have to
I think
look at them out. It would be hard. You'd have to kind of look at them both at the same time, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so yours would be gray calls.
Okay.
Apparently, according to that site. I don't have call
Apparently.
ducks, so.
Well, I had gray calls, but they've gone to another farm. So.
Okay. So then I guess Courtney with Crested Ducks would be.
So
Yeah.
the crested was developed in Europe they've seen it in paintings as far back as the 17th century. It can be any color. I have some that are white, and then I have some that are like khaki colored but have big poof on their head. The poof is actually caused by a deformity. So when they're born, their skull doesn't completely fuse together, which causes the feathers to grow in the poof on top of their head. So I've heard that some people have problems with them, like they'll have like neurological issues because it's right there on the brain. They lay a white egg. They were accepted in the American Poultry Association in 1874, but back then they were only white. So in 1977, they accepted the black version of it. Now you find them in like all kinds of different colors, but I think that's probably like people interbreeding different, like a breed with crested, and they get crested babies from it. It is a dual purpose bird. It grows usually from 6 to 7 pounds, and they lay about 120 to 200 eggs a year, so they lay pretty good. I think they're pet like they're not like super friendly, but they'll like pick them up. They don't like try to fly away or anything like that.
They just look sassy with their crests, though.
They're funny with their crest. Like they'll be quacking and like rocking it back and forth. It's like a drama queen. Yeah, I think that's what I have for the crested.
I think they're cute.
They're cool.
I
I
have
think it's a love it or hate it thing. Some people don't like them at all, and then some people just love them and think they're so funny.
A lot of people I've seen don't want them because it is a deformity. So they're like, oh, I don't want a deformed bird. But they're actually really pretty with all the feathers, and like each one has a different like crest. So like some of them are like huge all over the head, and then I've seen them where there's like 2 little ones on each side, like pom-poms.
So then I guess Courtney would be again with the golden 300s.
So the golden 300s were actually produced like not very long ago. In 1996, they like became a thing, and they bred. So they're a cross of Cayuga, Ruin, Khaki, and Runner, and they were produced to produce a lot of eggs. So they actually produce almost 300 eggs a year in a good one. It can be anywhere from 200 to 290 eggs. And it said like that you should take like health measures because they lay so much. You're going to want to make sure that they have extra calcium and all that to keep them healthy, to keep them going for a while. They can be used for dual purpose, but they only get 4 to 5 pounds, so they're not really that big. Some people like that.
And what are these called again?
They're called golden 300s. So they're like the girls are like a tan, and they almost have like grayish spots on them. And then the boys remind me of like a lighter colored khaki boy. So they have like the darker color on their head, and then the bottom part of their body is like a lighter color. And
would they call it a different name too? Do they have different names? Like, would it like a gold star or a gold?
Possibly.
Okay.
People come up with different like versions of them a lot. So most of them are like a bunch of different breeds interbred to, like in this case, it was to produce eggs, and a lot of them.
Right.
They would be similar, like I know here in Canada, there is some people of the golden 300s, but there's also one that's called white layer. And so they look kind of similar to a really small pekin, kind of. They're usually typically white, and they're the same thing. They were bred to produce high amounts of eggs.
Okay.
I didn't really write too much about them, and I didn't find anybody who had them to come on here. But they would be very similar to the golden 300s. So if it's like a really good egg layer you're looking for, that might be an option as well. The white layer is all they're called. I guess I would be next with the Indian runners.
I think I'm up again. Oh, okay.
Indian runners, khaki, and then Welsh. So the Indian runners, they actually don't even know when they were first created. They found them on temple carvings that have dated back 2,000 plus years ago. So they're one of the oldest known breeds. So there's not a ton on their origin because they just honestly don't really know. They've been used mainly in the past as herding ducks. So the farmer would take them from their coop, train them with a stick, herd them out into rice paddies or crop fields for the day, where they would forage for the bugs and pests and everything, and then they would herd them back into their coop for the night, and then out to a different field the following day. Lots of people today use them to train herding dogs because they stay really close together. They'll form, it's almost like a ball that just moves around, and they can be good for that. They aren't dual purpose, but people have ate them and do eat them, but they only get to be about 4 or 4.5 pounds at maturity. They can be many colors, like, I don't know, I think there's 18 or 19 different colors of the runners. but only 8 of them are accepted into the standard of perfection in America. They are prolific layers if it's a good strain. So with so many different people breeding, people can put their energy into other areas, maybe getting a more upright or that elongated neck or whatever. If egg laying hasn't been a huge priority, then they might not be as good of layers. So you always have to take that into consideration. But that's really with any breed. It really depends on what the person's been breeding for. But they can lay up to 250 eggs a year. So ours are kind of on that high end. They're around 230 eggs a year. They're said to lay smaller eggs, the size of a chicken hen egg, but our runners actually lay larger eggs. Our runners lay bigger eggs than the Welsh do, so I would rate them, for our group at least, as a large egg laying breed. Their eggs can be white, blue, tan, green. Like, they come in a lot of colors as well. David Holderreed has said that they are the most active foraging breed out of all the duck breeds. Again, because that's what they were used for hundreds of years. That was like their only purpose, that and eggs. So the only thing with the runners is if you're free ranging, they will go further than from home. Like a lot of the other breeds we've talked about, they stay relatively close to home and stuff like that. But runners, they'll go out to find bugs. If they've cleared your area right in the yard or the orchard you want them to stay in, they're gone looking for those bugs. So they don't fly, but they are a breed that can jump really high, because they'll jump up onto a tree to snag bugs off higher. So you will need about at least a 3-foot fence to keep them in. I said they're not dual purpose, but people who have ate them say they taste very similar to a wild duck, just because of their outstanding foraging skills. They can be a little skittish. So what we do to overcome the skittishness with the runners is we get them really used to our voices, and then we'll always announce ourselves verbally before they can see us. Ducks can see color, and they will recognize changes. So like if you change your hat or your color of coat or something, they're going to be like, holy crap, who's this new person? So we talk to them before they can see us. Then they know, oh, that's just the food lady. She's coming to feed me. All's good, even if she's in pink instead of blue. And that's helped us a lot with the runners, so we don't constantly scare them. But yeah, if you're looking for the pest control around your gardens or in an orchard, they're a really good option. And since they do forage so much and they are such a lightweight, like our group of 10 runners eat less than our group of 6 Welsh. So just they can forage a lot of their own diet in the warm months when there's access to the bugs and the grass seeds and all those different things, and they would prefer it. So they would rather go out and find their own forage than eat out of our feed buckets. So for like permaculture people who are wanting to move their birds and just want a really good amount of eggs without a lot of feed put into them, they're a really good option. Or for pest control around your gardens, orchards, cleaning up ponds, anything like that. So that's basically what I had for the runners. And Courtney would be next with Khaki Campbell's.
So the Khakis came from England, and they were introduced by Mrs. Adele Campbell, and they were introduced to the public in 1898. They're basically a runner crossed with a ruin, but it said that one particular year a mallard was used along the line, but mostly it was the runner in ruin. They don't really get super, super big. So they're like 4 to 4.5 pounds. They can be used for dual purpose, but mostly people use them for egg layer because they're kind of smaller. They lay a white egg. I think they're like just a little bit bigger than a call duck, at least mine. I don't know about like, because it really depends on the duck, but we don't get a lot of big eggs from them. And they lay 170 to 230 eggs per year. So they're a pretty good egg layer if that's what you're looking for. I think that they're very friendly. The boys aren't as like crazy as other breeds, especially during mating season. Like my Khaki boy is allowed to be in like my big flock because he doesn't torture the girls like other breeds. I think that's all I have on them. Little pet-like crazies.
I ended up with some here, and they were crazy.
Really?
Yeah. They were all kinds of crazy.
I think I got 4 in 2015, and I have 2 of the girls are still with me, and then I have a boy that I took like as a rescue, and the boy's a little bit crazier because he's not used to like me touching him. And, like I raised the girls as little babies, and I saved him from a stupid weasel, so they like me.
So then I guess last would be Welsh.
You can jump in anytime and help me out with this one. Okay, so it's a domestic duck. Is originated in Wales in 1949. I don't even know what that is. Some Captain Leslie Bonnet discovered a color mutation in his flock of Khaki Campbells and began selective breeding for the Welsh Harlequin. By 1968, he was sending hatching eggs over to the United States, followed by importation of live birds in 1981. So they really haven't been around that long in the United States and Canada. So today, the Welsh Harlequin is a lightweight duck breed, and they are known for their vivid coloring and egg-laying abilities. They weigh they're dual purpose, but they only weigh between 4.5 to 5.5 pounds. And the females have a dark black bill with brown legs and feet, and their feathers are similar to the mallard but heavily frosted with white. They also lack the eye striping of a female mallard. Oh, and they're one of the few that, if you have the right coloring, they are auto-sexing at hatching. So the pink bills are usually the girls, and the dark black ones are usually the boys. Right, you can tell right at hatching. They're excellent foragers, but they're also more vulnerable to predators or sky predators or whatever because of their light coloring. They make them easier to see. But they can lay, 280 eggs a year?
Yeah,
and you silver and gold color carriers.
they're pretty good layers.
Yeah.
I
Mine are
think
probably the best.
I think it was the golden phase that first mutated out of the khaki. And then from the golden, there was another mutation when they were breeding them, and it was that silver phase with that the blue wing band. Those are most of the Welsh you see people listing. But the Goldens are really pretty too. Like they have these all different colors of browns in them. They shouldn't have very much black, like no black, just different shades of browns and whites. They're really pretty, and their wing band, it's like golden. It shines like a brown golden color. It's really pretty.
I've got a few of those. I really like mine. Thanks, Cassandra.
If you're gonna breed Welsh, though, make sure you pick the ones that have the dark bills and the dark legs. There's not a ton of information on breeding the Goldens, but what I have been able to find is that they should still have the dark legs, not orange legs, for the females. The males will have orange shanks and feet. And pick your pinkest billed females and your darkest billed males at hatch to keep for your breeding. So you can keep that auto-sexing gene going in your line so you can tell at hatch, because you can lose it. So those would be my pointers for if you're going to breed them.
So with the male golden though, like they don't have any black in them either?
They shouldn't, no. It should all be browns and whites. And then the silvers are black, brown, and white.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to see if at hatch you could tell the difference. And we haven't had Goldens coming out of our flock that consistently yet. But they seemed, the ones we did have that turned out to be Goldens were lighter faced at hatch than the silvers were. Like the silvers had a lot of black markings by their eyes, and the Goldens were more yellow plumage on their heads. But I don't know if that actually holds true, because we've only had the Goldens coming out of our flock for 2 years, so. But
I don't know, I think they're pretty.
they are pretty, and they are good foragers. Ours seem to stick close to home when we would free range them. They don't seem to go out too far. The only breed I really have that will actually go is the runners. But they will come home if you've trained them. They will come back home at dark. But the sun's shining right into. But I think we hit all the breeds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So unless there was any questions or...
Just for information from Metzer Farms, this magazine.
Yeah.
With all the chickens and stuff. So I've been following along as you're talking, just so I have like a visual and of all the different ones, which is kind of nice. And it sounds like the gold 300 and then the white layer you were talking about, they call them the gold star and the white star hybrid, because that's what they're bred for, is like the super high layers.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That
I
must be
never
kind
knew
of
that.
And then when you were describing the coloring of them, the gold 300, that's exactly what the picture is, pretty much too. They call it a gold star.
The one thing I forgot about that is the golden 300s, they can actually sex from beginning, like right from when they were born. So I wrote it down. The females are shades of brown and the males are shades of black when they're little. That's how they tell them apart. I actually took the 5 I took as rescues, and the lady was like, "Oh yeah, there's 3 girls and 2 boys." And I'm like, "You got ducks on a whim. How are you able to tell me that they're boys and girls, but they grew up to be 2 boys and 3 girls?" And I'm like, "How did she know that?" But now I know how she knew that. They came sexed.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool to have if that's what you're like, if you're able to sell eggs.
I sell some of my eggs, and I do pretty good. Like right now, they just all started coming in. I got like 4 dozen eggs or something like that. I'm like,
Oh my
whoa.
goodness. You want some goose eggs?